Welcome to the WinEH podcast. This show is focused on empowering ranchers. Whether you're a seasoned rancher or just getting started, we'll guide you on how to use the infinite banking concept as an alternative way to finance your operations. It's a better way to think about money. Join us as we discuss planning for the future, attracting the next generation, and the art of keeping more money within the family. Here's your hosts, Winnie and Lacy.
Welcome, and we're so glad that you could come join us today for this session because it is an inaugural session as we will move our way into the Becoming Your Own Banker book. This one right here. Lacy, you could probably show it here. This mine's a little more rough.
Yeah, so I believe we both have our original copies of Becoming Your Own Banker here. You can see I have little notes all through mine. I don't have mine spiral bound yet, but I actually should do that. So we wanted to provide with you, come to you, and talk about what it is that's in Nelson's book that he wrote so long ago. And when we just get right into, it's on page 3, it's the introduction. And a lot of people skip over this, and I was probably one to skip over it because I want to get down to the nitty gritty and the nuts and bolts of what's in this book. But it really focuses on that for the last 200 years, the industry, so the life insurance industry, has taught us to focus on the death benefit that comes with life insurance instead of focusing on what qualities are in the contract. What is being neglected if all we focus on is the death benefit? And so that's kind of where we're going to go with this episode, is right into Nelson's intro.
Yeah, and I think one of the first things that Nelson really does point out is that here in North America, here in Canada specifically, it's coming up to almost close to 2 centuries that life insurance industries have been around. And as it relates to the specific type of insurance contract that is used to exercise the knowledge of infinite banking, that's been since 1847. 1848 was the first dividend that was actually paid. And so when we're just actually focusing on death benefit rather than the living benefit and the use of it, that's the first hurdle. When you start opening up the book and you get into the intro, it's like, okay, Nelson is opening up our eyes to the fact that we must look at these contracts much differently than we have before. And I would just say, still, anytime someone is looking at something like this, their first instinct is just a bit of skepticism, a bit of, oh, this must be a scam. Even you, Lacy, you felt that way. You felt that way.
I thought it was a scam for sure.
And you know why? I think what contributes to that is because life insurance has something to do with it. And the word of it being insurance also throws people right off, because a lot of people can have PTSD from dealing with insurance companies, and either it's worked out really well or worked out really not well and been a nightmare in some experiences. It has nothing to do with life insurance, but just insurance in general. Yeah. So again, in the 3rd page of Nelson's book, he really starts to open up our eyes to saying, okay, remain open. Yes, we're going to talk a little bit about the insurance industry, what was wrong with how it's been done in the past, and let's explore something new and how it can be used during our lifetime in a different way. So that's one of the first things that he goes through in the first paragraph.
Yeah, and I'll just read a little excerpt here. He says, unfortunately, the industry has concentrated on the death benefit qualities of the contract and has neglected to adequately describe the financing capabilities that it presents for the policy owners. Ironically, life insurance companies must put premium income to work in various investments in order to pay the death claims. And the next sentence I actually have highlighted. This book demonstrates that your need for finance during your lifetime is much greater than your need for protection.
Whether you're looking at infinite banking or not, if we just stop for a moment and think about our need for money is greater than our need for it at death, right? That's obvious. And everyone, when they're coming to this information, they're at a different season of their life. If you're happen to be younger and you don't even have a family yet, the last thing that you were thinking about is having a death benefit. So it's very easy depending on where you're at. I think you're motivated to read this book if you are interested in keeping more money in your life, if you're interested in making your money work better and more optimized for you. And that's what the second paragraph is really talking about, is that death benefit is like the cherry on top. That's how I read in between the lines there. It's like tax-free death benefit to people that you care about being left behind is the cherry on top. It's actually about describing like, this is going to contribute to giving you more money for the things that you need to do throughout your entire life. Because as we get older, we only discover more things and there's only more things that we want to do with our money. So yes, I agree with Nelson here. It is about our need for financing throughout our life that we need to always be worried about.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily like, I know that we might have some people come and say like, cash is king.
Or queen.
Oh, yeah, if you're a Ramsey follower. But being able to have the financing capabilities through this life insurance policy for any kind of opportunity that might show up on your doorstep. What if the land next door comes for sale? The possibilities are endless. So he goes on to say, solve for this need of finance is what he's talking about through this instrument, and you will end up with more insurance than companies will issue on you. Most everyone is familiar with the fact that one can borrow from a whole life policy, but because of how little premiums they pay, there is limited access to money to finance major items needed during a lifetime. Yet, the need for financing for the typical person is extensive. Really, all this book adds to the equation is scale.
And the next thing that Nelson really talks about is just like, once you start learning about what this is, if you're really open to it, you'll probably end up angry, like most of us. It's like, like I had spent so much money on financial education and not, you know what? I'm not angry about the experience or the money that I actually spent getting there. It's interesting. I just find it more frustrating that, this book is only $30 here in Canada with a little bit of shipping. So that's what we charge for it. And you can get that book from us here, is that once you find out that it really starts with the way that you think and the thinking that has been sort of nurtured in the mainstream marketplace, don't be surprised if what you find in this book will end up making you angry about all the stuff that you have and how much money you could have kept had you known about it sooner. Because that is one of the biggest things that people say. It's like, why didn't I know about it sooner? It's so funny because we were just starting to share this with Amaja's group who are only in their early 20s. And they literally said, I wish I started saving much sooner. And it's so funny to hear that from an early 20-something-year-old. But just imagine how you feel if you're in your late 20s, early 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah, well, the next sentence in Nelson's book is that the fact that the principles have been there all along and no one taught them to me makes me rather angry. And it's like almost every single person that comes to us has that same feeling because we have been taught to just go along with what's mainstream and what's traditional. We just do it because that's human nature. It is not natural to go against the grain. And when we do go against the grain, I thought it was a scam. Reed did not. We worked together. I realized it wasn't a scam. And then him and I both realized that, hey, people need to hear about this. And then fast forward and there's lots in between there, but that's how I got to where I am now. Is like people need to know about this.
So the next paragraph is, and it's hard, and you can always end up feeling passionate about this, right? But again, this is just the first page and him describing what this is really about. I really like how this book, he says this is not for like an insurance advisor or people in the financial industry. This book, Becoming Your Own Banker, is written for the everyday person.
Yep.
Some people, like the everyday person, it means different walks of life. It's meant for any walk of life. If you want to just hear about, like, if you just like reading, Nelson has a really great way of putting things. This is only like a 91 page book. And I love reading his words so much. But if you're more of a numbers person, there's numbers in here too, things to look at, numbers to see. So the next piece is a reiteration, like, okay, so setting aside that, a part of what this is using a specific type of insurance contract and that it's meant for making sure that you have money throughout your whole entire life. He then kind of talks about just the very fact that every single dollar you spend is a financing decision. And one of the greatest things that it solves for, because this is actually a solution to a problem. So every time we spend money, like on things that we need on our day to day, like our cars, all the major appliances in our home, the education, and education is expansive, homes, investment opportunities, business equipment, anything that you could possibly need. It's a financing decision. Either you're saving up for cash or you're actually going to borrow money in order to acquire those things. But how about if you can think about it a different way and recapture, if you're going to borrow money for those things, how about instead of paying interest to somebody else, why not put it back in your pocket? Do you know how much more money you would have over the course of your lifetime if all you did was recapture the interest in your life?
Mm-hmm.
And even if you are right now a person who doesn't have any consumer debt per se, at some point, the next thing that you're going to get, you may not have enough money saved. You're going to likely borrow money from somewhere, even if it's off your secured line of credit or your credit card, just to get that for the moment and then pay your credit card or your external credit back.
And
right?
If they do have the cash for it, they're losing the opportunity to earn interest on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it swings both ways, right? And when I hear you talking about financing our life and the things, and what if you take opportunity for every dollar, I think about the stage of life that I'm in. I'm a mom with 2 teenage boys and an 8-year-old daughter. We are in the thick of parenting. Then I think about my parents and how they raised us 3 girls. And I think about all of the blood, sweat, and tears that my dad poured in to earning a living for us. And my mom worked part-time as well sometimes. If he could have made every single one of those dollars work for him forever, what would it look like now? If the people that are walking alongside me in life, parenting right beside me, doing the sports, all the things, if all of us are working so hard for what we earn, what if we could make it work for us forever? What if we took advantage of every single one of those dollars?
And to expand on what you're saying there, right? Like for any one of us parents, right? We know what it's like to earn every single dollar that we have, and it gets reinvested back into the family for all the things that the family needs and does: eat, food, clothing, shelter, sports, all the things. That if you could take those dollars that you're using for those today, but have them working for you before they leave your hands to go get spent. All the hard work that your dad went into raising all 3 of you girls. What if he could have had all that money working for him, all the money that he spent raising you girls, but have it working for him in perpetuity for the rest of his natural life? How much more physical dollars would your dad, had he known about this, like for his retirement years?
Oh yeah,
right?
The freedom.
Because this life is definitely in a lot of ways a marathon. At some points we could be really doing really well, but it's about how can we sustain our life financially throughout our entire life, right? And so a part of what Nelson talks about on that first page is, how about if we regain the interest that we could have otherwise had? It kind of just goes back to making our dollars more optimized for the rest of our life.
Yeah, because let's just face it, we all work hard and we all want to live a good life. And if we have a way that we can make those dollars go further, make them work harder for us, provide those opportunities, provide that freedom to take advantage of opportunities, be prepared for when the rain comes. There's going to be rainy days. And then the next thing on this page that I have highlighted is, it is not a procedure to get rich quickly. And this has been on my mind for a couple of days now, because there's so much noise. There's noise on social media. Everybody has the latest, greatest product. Do this is going to keep you young. This is going to make you rich, like whatever it might be. That's not what this is. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is a process. This is about finding freedom in your finances, taking back control from lenders, making that dollar work harder for you. So that's been on my mind lately is like, it's not get rich quick.
And it's a different way to manage your cash flow first. It's actually, it's a process of managing your cash flow differently. It doesn't change any of the objectives that one has during the course of their life, which our objectives can change in a heartbeat, depending on what we experience, right? But I believe we can all agree that living here in North America, we need money to do things, period. And what we need it for changes from here to there. So it's actually really this whole infinite banking process is about where do we run our money? Where do we store our money before it leaves our hands? That is what this is really about. This is even more foundational of what a person ought to focus on before investing, which Nelson talks about. It can certainly include investing, but this is really about how we finance things first, is what we should first question before we even think about investing. The second piece is like, this is not a function of interest rates either. This is about who owns the debt. If you're the owner of your debt, then the interest comes back to you. If someone else owns the debt, then the interest goes to them. This is a process about how do we optimize and keep more of our own money in our pocket. If we can learn to do that before investing, well, hey, then if you do investing, then you have a lot less to lose in case your investment goes south because you know how to keep it first. There's other things on this page. It's like plan as if you're going to live forever and live as if you're going to die today. That is a definite quote from Nelson. Think ahead. This is also really about people who have always wanted to think long range. This is such a great book to read going further because it will definitely help you to start thinking long range. If you're a person who loves to think ahead, this is great for that person too.
If you're not one that is thinking ahead, it might prompt you to start thinking ahead. His last sentence he finishes off this page is, there's no such thing as having too much money in the bank. Wealth must reside somewhere. What better place to have it reside than here?
And it's hard to appreciate it if this is the first time you're really hearing about it. But as we go through the book a little bit more, you'll hopefully find a way to fully appreciate that last sentence. But it ought to spark, like if that's the first time you hear it, you're hearing about it, that really, I hope, sparks in curiosity for you, because it also means what's wrong with where my money sits right now.
Yeah, that's perfect, which leads me to what I want to finish off with. And it's a quote that Nelson has in this book. It says, the problem in America isn't so much what people don't know. The problem is what people think they know that just ain't so. And that's by Will Rogers. So I'm going to leave you with that.
I think that's a really good spot. And then we'll come back around to this in a follow-up session. So what's the next step, Lacy?
So if you want to go over on Apple or Spotify, leave us a review. We would greatly appreciate that. To take the next step in your journey of learning about becoming your own banker, head over to our website, ranchyourway.com. Purchase your copy of Becoming Your Own Banker. You can get it bundled with Farming Without the Bank all together. We will see you on the other side. Thank you.
So glad you leaned in with us on the WinEH podcast. We truly hope you're feeling more informed and empowered to take another step towards optimizing your financial life. Right now, make sure you hit subscribe so you can keep growing and learning with us. Until next time, we wish you prosperity in every area of your life.